I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich. And can provide...
Welcome to Dad's Talk Podcast. My name is Gregory Gibson, and I will be the host of this show with the thanks to LOCO's Radio. We are bringing on this podcast to bring a shining light to fathers in the world. There's all different types of dads in this world. There are dads who, provide for everything. There's dads who provide and, are emotional type. There are dads who are just there for every single second of the day that you walk. There are just so many different types of dads out there, but dads are always looked at to be the backbone to everything, to provide for everything. But at the same time, nobody really sits there and asks how we feel as fathers. Me, myself, I'm a father. I'm a father to actually 3 kids. I have a 4-year-old named Adriana Gibson. She is a wonder to this world. She is vibrant. She reminds me of myself, especially being 4 and everything that she does. Like, she acts the exact same way that I acted when I was 4. Just crazy and just running all over the place and just wanting to have fun at all times. Then you have my 1-year-old. She just turned 1 a few weeks ago. Her name is Gia Gibson, and she is my little chocolate drop. She is the character of all characters. She has these facial expressions that, are none to other. And she just really brung a different light to fatherhood for me, being my second child, going through, a different experience than I did with my first child, because I was no longer with the mother to my first child, but I am with the mother to my second child. And we actually have a 3rd child on the way, and I finally have a boy on the way. He's supposed to be here in about 3 months. And this was, it was a huge surprise, might I say. But it was a great surprise at the same time. It really opened my eyes and really made me see that, I really got kids out here, not just kids. I got people out here that are looking up to me and looking at me, looking to me the same way that I looked at my father and the same way I looked at my parents. And that just means the world to me. When you grow up the way I grew up, I had both of my parents in my life, thankfully. And I had my little brother with me, and my dad did everything in his power. My mom and my dad did everything in their power to make sure that I was okay. They did everything in their power to make sure that I was sheltered when I grew up, make sure that I didn't have to experience anything that they went through when they grew up, just making sure that our life was kind of set as perfect as it could be. Not everything is perfect, but they tried to make it as close as you could get to it. And now that I have my own kids and I see all the things that I have been through just through these short years. Like I said, my oldest kid is only 4, so I've only been a father for about 4 years. But just going through what I've been through and now looking back on it, looking at my father and realizing all the things that he did for me and my brother and me and my brother and my mom and just the family in general. And him not having a father he had his father in his life, but him not having the true father figure that I would say that he would have liked. He really made sure that when he had his kids, that he was going to be that father figure that he always wanted, or even better. And might I say, he did a wonderful job. He made sure that no matter what, that he was there. Like, he was at every single one of my extracurricular activities. He was there at every single one of my brother's events. He put us on a pedestal. He made sure he was working full time. He was going to school full time, getting his bachelor's, and he was a pastor of a church. So looking at all that now and seeing, like, man, this man really, was the backbone. But not only was he just the backbone, but he was there whenever, I was going through something deep, whenever I was going through something, my first heartbreak, first, big time loss, first losing a family member. all of that, he was there, right there to be over me and be a protector, and really show the light and show the way to me being the father that I am now. And I really thank him for that. And knowing that there are some, seeing that and growing up in that way, and knowing that there are some fathers that are out there that aren't around, or that, don't take on that role, really hurts me on the inside, because I don't see how you can sit there and see and, know that there's somebody out there that's basically a mini form of you, whether they look like you or they don't look like you. They have their blood running. They have your blood running through them, and not want to be there for them, not want to take care of them, not want to watch them grow up, not want to watch them, do the things that you did growing up, or experience the things that you experienced. Like, everybody experiences kind of the similar things, and everybody needs somebody, and to have a father in your life really takes a different role and really takes a different aspect to life for you. Everybody has their mother, and the mother is always the nature. She's always the one that you could go and you could cry on their shoulder. You could go and she's going to take care of you. She's going to, be the first one to step in front of you to make sure that nothing happens to you. Be the first one to make sure that mothers do it all. They do. But to have that manly figure there in your life, that strong figure there in your life, to let you know and pick you up and really show you that it's going to be okay, is something that I feel like every kid, every adult, every human needs in this world. And to start off with a little bit about me, like I said, I'm 25. I grew up in the St. Louis area. I was more on the O'Fallon side, like more of a suburban kid. I was a suburban kid. And like I said, I was a preacher's kid. I was a PK. So I not necessarily I didn't experience a lot of things that a lot of people got to experience, because I was sheltered. I was made sure that, I took care of my grades. I took care of my athletic events. My sports was the biggest thing of my entire life. I could literally play anything that dealt with basketball, football, anything dealing with sport. I'm catching on to it right away. And growing up through that, in that light, and kind of being in just kind of like that jock figure, it really made you like kind of blind to a lot of things. So growing up, I went through school. Football was really my main thing, and I went to school to play football. That's really what my main focus was. I wasn't focused on anything outside. If you were to ask my 15, 16-year-old self today, back then, if I were to say that I had 3 kids, I would have 3 kids at 25, I probably would look at you or call you some type of something outside of your name, or, just really give you a look like that's not something that I would do. My mindset and my focus was, I'm going to play somewhere, big time, and no matter what it takes, I'm gonna be some type of professional athlete. So I went through school. My athletic career didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but I was gonna make the best out of it, and I ended up going to a small school out in Southern Illinois, and that was around the time that everything really changed my life. I went to a small school, and I was going to use that school to transfer to go to a bigger school. And during that time, I ended up getting a career-ending injury, and that really like flip-flopped my entire life. To this day, even, I can say that happened when I was 17, 18 years old, and I'll admit, I am just now getting over it. Because it legitimately smashed my entire life, like my whole life that I have been prepping for, everything that I have been thinking about. I never had a B plan, because I always knew, well, I have a B plan, it would take away focus from your A plan. That's what I thought. And going through all that first kind of couple years were some of the, I say, hardest years that I've had to experience in my entire life. If you ask anybody else on the outside, I made it look like, everything was fine and everything was good. But on the inside there was a lot of mental and even physical pain that I was enduring just off the fact of my entire life had changed, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea where I was going to go from here. I had no idea what my life was supposed to be about from here on out. So, with that being said, I took a different approach. And back then, it was all football was my girlfriend. Football was the girl for me. Any type of female that came into my life or anything like that, they were more of a back burner to football. They weren't really, the main focus of what I had going on because I had one goal, I had a dream, I had something that I was striving for. But when it got taken away, that's when that second part kind of took a front runner. And that's when you meet somebody that at the time, replaced what you had missed. And you fall into a deep, deep love connection that you think really is what you were missing. You think that this is, going to replace what took away all the joy and all the hope and all the dreams that you had that got smashed away, in seconds. You think that this is going to replace it. And during that time, usually how it goes when you feel like you're deeply in love with somebody, you feel like you want to give them something or you want to do something that can show that love. And being, kind of young, you are naive and you're blind and you don't, you know, stick to what you have been taught and what you have been, you know, um, living and going through those years. So with that being said, that's when I had my first daughter. I was 20. I was 20 years old. Um, she, the way that she came into the world was just kind of wild. Just off the fact of all the different events that had occurred throughout the time, um, and just not going too deep into it, but just there was a time where we thought she was here and she wasn't, and then all of a sudden now she's here again. And going through being that young and knowing that you're having a kid, to me, I was excited. Um, I always loved kids when I was being as a kid. I loved kids. I was the one that always wanted to babysit the kids. I took my little brother under my wing like he was my own little kid. All my little cousins and everything like that. I wanted to be the one to kind of like nature the kid. It was just something about kids to me that just infatuated me with them. I just loved kids. So having my own was kind of just the biggest thing in the world to me. But I don't think, well, I know I wasn't, nobody's prepared, especially at that age. Being that young, you think, I'm not a teenager no more. So I'm gonna be okay. Like you think, I made it out of teen pregnancy. Um, but I was just 20, and looking back on it, you think that you're grown, but you're not grown at all. You're not even ready. Like I wasn't even out of college yet. Um, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Like I said, I just had a traumatic experience, and I got this baby that's coming into this world, and that's gonna look at me the same way that I looked at my father, and that kind of scared me a lot. Um, Back then, you're this big macho man, so you got to kind of play it off as you're ready, and you know what you're gonna do, and you're gonna take care, and you're gonna provide, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that, and you think you got it all planned out, but nobody's nobody's prepared for that. Nobody's mentally prepared for that. Nobody's physically prepared for that. And definitely at that age, unless you're just, one of these come up fast rich kids from the social media, you're not financially prepared for it. So you work all these jobs and you do all of this, and if you look at the statistics, a lot of people who have kids early don't really, it's a very few small percentage of people who actually make it out and become really, really successful in America's eyes. So being 20 and having this kid, she came out June 26, 2016. And that day for me was the longest day of my entire life. We we were sitting there the entire day. Um, First of all, I had made a big man move, and I decided to. My child's mother is actually from California, so I decided to move and drive all the way from St. Louis to California with my best friend, nonstop, just so I could be there for my child and try to make a way out there. Just I didn't know what to do. I just knew I needed to be there. That's one thing I knew from my dad and from everything that they taught me and everything that I learned is that there's no way I was not going to be there for my child. So I made sure I was doing everything that I could possibly do. And at that time, that was me being there. So I drove all the way out there. I had at the time, I thought I had no family out there in California. I was out there all alone. I was trying to get a job. Things are a whole lot differently. Things are a whole lot different out there than they are out here. So it came to experience where I had to change my facial features. Like everybody knows me knows that I love my beard, but out there you can't have a beard when it comes to working. So you walk around. I always wonder like why did nobody ever have a beard out there? But anytime I went into an interview or anything like that, they would tell me I had to cut my beard off. So eventually, I gave in and I just went ahead and I finally got a job and I went ahead and cut my beard off and that right there is like to some men it's like taking their dignity away or taking them away and at the time it wasn't that big to me but it did make me feel some type of way like I'm literally doing everything I can to make sure that I'm here for my child and when that day came that it was the time for her to come out um, like that's a day that I feel like nobody will ever be able to forget. Sitting there and going through all those hours and watching, you know, watching them watching the mother go through all that pain and go through all that just to have your child, just to push them out and seeing your child come out is that right there was the love that changed and flipped everything for me. When football got taken out, that was huge, and I thought I was replaced using all these different types of things to try to replace it, using all things that I've never done before, going to different events I've never been before, just looking for everything in the wrong direction, and having this child really set that mindset and that place for me that hey maybe you know it's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to try to figure some things out. It's time for you to do what you need to do. But at the same time, I was 20. So this gave me a feeling that I've never felt before. And I was sitting there and I was crying and I was looking at, your child. And when you go through certain things, some dads, you go through certain things with the mother and you have certain different thoughts and stuff like that when your child comes out and everybody wants to take on the role, especially as young, of saying it's not yours or all of that. But once you see that child and you see that certain feature, like for me it's the toe. I have we have I have a toe that like kind of goes like this, and when my child came out and I saw her toe and it started going the same type of way, that was 100% autocorrect for me that it's go mode. And we went through all of that, and just a long story short, things didn't go as planned when it came down to being with her mother. And so now I'm going through a situation where I am 20. I ended up moving back out here to St. Louis so I could finish school. And it didn't. She ended up moving back too, but it didn't go as well and as planned. So now I'm sitting here and I'm not with the mother of my child anymore. Just fast forwarding through things. I am going to school, and at that age, just being honest, um, it's a great. To me, it felt like it was the best of both worlds. Just being completely honest. I'm 20 years old. I'm 21 years old. I have a kid because I love my daughter with all of my heart. I have her, but I don't have her all the time. And I also can go to school full time and still be a college kid. So I could be a college kid with one moment, and then when I want to, I could be a full-time dad or something like that. And at the time, if you were to say something to me and be like, you're not doing as much as you can, or you're not doing this or you're not doing that, I would look at you like you were crazy, and we would end up getting into an argument. But being 25 and looking back on how I was as a young father, um, there's a lot more that I could have done. Even with not being with her mother, there was a lot more I could have did. There's a lot more. There's a lot more ways that I could have, you know, taken a different initiative. There's a lot more things I could have done that I had no clue about, for one, and for two, like I said, not always trying to blame it on being young, but when you are young, you have an immature mindset. You like to think on the both sides of things. I was out here living my life. I was out here doing everything I wanted to do. And then I could go pick up my daughter and I could be a dad. I can, take her, to the zoo. I can take her here. I can post my pictures on social media. I can post my videos. I can do all of this, be on Snapchat with her all the time, whatever. But what back then, looking at it, what was I really, really doing? Did I really drop everything and provide for her the way that I really could have? Um, at the time, I feel like it was the best I could have done. But always, me being me, I always feel like I could have gave more. I always feel like I could have did more. I did the best that I could through the situation that I was in, the different things that I've been through, that a lot of people have not been through, and a lot of people cannot give you an advice to go through. But there's still more that can always be done, and I feel like I did a pretty good job at the end of the day. But you know, just being a critique on yourself, you always feel like you could be better. And if you don't think that way, I feel like you won't ever reach any goals that you want to go to. So with all that being said, I went through that. I started getting through that experience, and then I met somebody else, and we actually, she actually got pregnant, and I had a miscarriage that next year when my daughter was she was about one. My oldest daughter Audrey was about one, and with my girlfriend I'm with now, we had a miscarriage, and that was a different experience for me. Um, that's also a different experience of fatherhood that a lot of people are just parenting that a lot of people don't really talk about and put on the back burner. But it happens a lot more than you would think. Like when you go through, and I sit there and I talk to a lot of my friends, or I sit there and just conversate with different people. A lot of people have been through a miscarriage. A lot of people have been through that hurt, that feeling of you lost a child, somebody that you didn't even really get to. And so our miscarriage came pretty early, so we found out we were pregnant, and then found out we lost our kid. But some people have different experiences where they go through almost a whole pregnancy, and then they lose their kid. And just losing your kid in general is just something that I wouldn't wish on anybody in the world. And losing it at that age didn't really resonate with me as well as I would have thought, and as well as I would have hoped. And it really made me see two different kind of sides of people and two different sides of things. Because on one end, there's people in your area that's saying, "Oh, um, like weirdly looking at it as relief, looking at it as a blessing. Like you were about to have another kid young, and now you're not. So like, oh, now you need to take that and go with it, and now you can take a deep breath. But at the same time, I I never you would nod your head and be like, yeah, yeah, but in deep down, you're sick to your stomach, and you don't really know how to express it. Especially for some reason, as men, we're taught to keep our feelings and our expressions and everything on the inside, and we're taught to make sure that nobody sees you cry. Like if you're on the field or you're anything like that, and you fall down, and you cry, pick your head up and wipe your wipe your tears away, and You got to stand up strong and take the sniffles away and just be a man. You can't show any type of emotion. So when you go through things like that and you want to show emotion, you can't. And that does not help in any type of way, especially when it comes to being with that person that you went through that experience with. You There's a different type of way. Everybody needs somebody to be there for them. Everybody takes traumatic experiences differently, and when you guys aren't on the same alignment or you guys aren't on the same page when it comes to a traumatic experience, it could be another traumatic experience, and that's basically what happens. I feel like in most cases. So be looking back on that and going through that and knowing that basically I had another kid that I just lost and didn't even get to meet. I didn't even get to see if it was going to be a boy or if it was going to be a girl. So we just named it Baby G because it's our baby angel in heaven. Um, and all that experience is just shaping me into the person I am today. And going on to the next, we went through all that, and the next year we found out that she was pregnant again, and that was a surprise, but it wasn't that big of a surprise as everybody made it to see. Because when you go through that experience with somebody and then you're still with them, you guys make it through. Everybody sees the next child that comes as your rainbow baby, and Gia is definitely our rainbow baby. Gia definitely brought a shining light to my life. When Gia came, Gia gave me a different light of fatherhood that you might say because you have your first child at a certain age and you have it with somebody and then you're no longer with them, and to have another child with somebody else and experience a different type of even different type of pregnancy because you're there more, or a different type of just a different experience in general because everybody's not the same, um, really brings you to a different shining light to everything. So when Gia came, I was sitting there and I didn't know what to do. I got two kids now. I got to go through this whole baby experience again, but this time for me it was different because this time I'm here. I'm with her. I'm with the mother of this child, and I have to have this child 24/7. With my oldest, it was sharing. It was co-parenting. I have her some days. I won't have her some days. But with this one right here, she's with me every single day. She's not going anywhere. I have to take her to when I want to go play basketball. I take her with me to go play basketball. I might not be able to play basketball because I have my child with me. I have to manage different things. I have to do different things. I have to move a certain type of way. I actually have to go get a job that can provide for not only me, but provide for this child that's with me at all times. And I have to provide for another child that I've been trying to provide for this entire time. So you're sitting there at 23 wondering, what am I going to do for this? And then having your second child at an older age and realizing, the different aspects and the different things that you did back at a young age, it's like having a second chance. And I look at Gia as kind of like my second chance to really to get everything correct, to get everything right, to be there. And I will admit, in the beginning, everybody, you're still not ready because it's a new experience. I feel like you're never ready for a new experience. But when she came, I was there a little bit more, and that kind of then you kind of get the big head of, I already have a kid. So I already had a kid, so I kind of know what I'm doing. I don't got to stress about this, or I don't got to stress about that, or, I know what to do, or all of this. But your partner, this is their first kid. So going through that experience really molds you and changes you to look on a different aspect of things. And at the time, you're not thinking of it back then, but going through different experiences through that and trials and tribulations and really opening your eyes to see, hey, now I look at it like I have my kid all the time. I need to provide for my kid. I got to do this. I got to get on my grind. I got to make sure that I have a job that can make sure that I can pay for everything I need to pay for both of my children. And then seeing her and coming home from work and seeing your child scream her name and seeing them run up to you like the same way you used to do to your child, to your father, and having that different type of experience with your kid makes you really mold and feel some type of way about being a father, because I feel like mothers automatically have that experience with their children because they're the ones who actually have the kid. They go through 9 months of pain and 9 months of all of that, their body growing and watching the child actually feeling the child actually being them, and they have a different type of connection to their child that fathers don't get. All we do is implant the child basically, and then we just watch the child come out. We don't do anything outside of that. So they already have a connection to their child that we would never experience, that we would never understand, that basically we'll never get. But being a father, your experiences come through basically your experiences with the kid, and having two different types of experiences with my children, actually having this one where she is here with me all the time, it has made me realize that being a father is something that's legit. Like it's really like a different experience. It's really a wholesome and it's really a humbling experience to know that you have somebody that's there for you. You have somebody that's under you. You have somebody that's under your wing that you need to, take under your wing and show them the way of life, because they're legitimately copying your every move. When there's somebody that's small and they're in the house with you all the time, they legitimately are your mini you. They do everything that you do. You can't even go to the bathroom by yourself. Sometimes you can't even sleep in bed by yourself. They are attached to your hip. And I didn't get to experience that as much as I wanted to, but having this one and seeing it and getting that feeling, it makes you feel all giggly on the inside. But lastly, my third child, my boy, I'm naming him Gregory Gibson because he is the third Greg, and he is supposed to be here in 3 months. And I say it's a very all of my friends basically have boys. I was the only one who I'm basically one of the only ones who had all girls. Um, so that was always the joke of the date. That was always the joke of everything, is that I have all these girls and everything like that. So finally, when I finally had my son, when I finally found out that I'm having a son, that when I found out, I didn't believe it at first. But I walked out of the building and I felt a feeling that I've never felt before. I felt different just in general. My mindset, like I thought I had a mindset. I thought I had a true father mindset of, you need to do this and you need to do that. But knowing that I have basically a son under me, and now I have 3 kids that are looking up to me and watching me grow, because I am growing as well, and I have to teach them everything. It honestly, it scared me a lot, and it still scares me to this day. But it it makes you it makes you happy, and it makes you want to do better for yourself. It makes you want to get those little things that annoy you and annoy everybody about you together. It makes you want to get that small little um, bad habit that you have over with. It makes you want to find your goals and your aspirations and everything that you really want to do and how successful you really want to be. Really brought a shining light to me. Uh, so with all that being said, those are all of my kids, and um, I might say that I've been trying to be the greatest father in the world that I can be. And when it came to this podcast, it excites me a lot, and to be completely honest, it scares me a lot too. But when I've seen a lot of things on the internet, or I've seen things, or people told me things that, like, if your dreams and aspirations don't scare you, then they aren't big enough. And why I say that, this has been one pretty big thing to me, because as you guys will hear later on, I've been through so many different things dealing with. Um, I'm not with the first mother of my child, so I've been through all the courtroom situations, and I did not know anything at all. I was lost. I got put on child support. I've had so much money taken away from me. I've had talking to my lawyer. I've had to find a lawyer. I've had to go through all these different types of experiences dealing with the court cases and dealing with the courtroom and seeing the way that they really look at fathers, and not only just fathers, but I'm young and I'm African American. So just off the fact of a few bad fathers being out there and not caring for their children has really put a dark light into us going into the courtroom. Um, we have I've experienced, and just being there and sitting in the courtroom all day and seeing all the different court cases that is coming in and coming out, and seeing all these fathers that are so stressed and so angry and so just broken and hurt really opened up my eyes and said there's something needs to be done, something needs to be changed. Going through all these years and talking to even the father of my girlfriend, he is a lot older than me, and he has different kids, and we have talked about different things, and I've heard some of his stories, and it's crazy how I'm only 25 and he's of a lot greater age than me, and we are experiencing the same things. Like well, not now, but the things I'm experiencing now are the same things that he was experiencing back then, and it's a big age gap. So to know that nothing has changed, and nobody looks at us as they just look at us as money. They just look at us as if you're not together with the mother, then you basically aren't a part of the child's life. You basically just need to pay your money and do what you need to do to make sure that your child is okay, but you're not at the same time expected to be there and help raise them and have your 50-50, have your all. That's just the mother's bearing. And not knowing everything that I didn't know, I want to, with this podcast, I want to start bringing on lawyers onto this podcast, so that way when there are fathers who are going through something or about to go through something like I was, they can look on here, or they can see something pop across their screen, since social media is so big now, that could give them a quick little tip or a quick little hint or some knowledge that they didn't know going into the courtroom. Because if there's different things that I know now going into the courtroom, I feel like a lot of things might have been a lot differently. Or even still to this day, there's a lot of stuff that I even don't know. So having somebody on here, having a professional on here with me, talking with me, and going through will help not only me with the situations that I'm going through, but I plan on it helping you guys, and I plan on it helping everybody, because everybody needs to know what's really going on. And when you go through a court case and you go through not seeing your child and you go through not having your child, because now I'll say my oldest child, she lives in California, so I only see her on the breaks. So when you go through something like that, there is a different mental capacity that you have to have. Unless you're just one of those fathers who just don't care. Me being me, I'm not one of those fathers, and not seeing my child and not having my child with me every day, especially when you have one with you every day and you have another one that you can only watch grow up through a phone, or you can only see partially throughout their life, it's a great mental burden that you have to live with every single day. It's the stress on you that you just can't control, because there's a lot of things when it comes to this courtroom that you can't control. So that being said, there's a mental stability that you need to have. Because if not, this parenting and this fatherhood and all of that can drive you down a path that you do not want to go down. And from that, I've seen so many different fathers that have done things that they wouldn't even done. But when you get to the lowest of lows and you need to provide for somebody that is looking up to you, you do everything that you can humanly possible. And even when you don't have them, you're trying to do all these things humanly possible. So having a therapist on here as well will, I feel like, help us out as well, because going through all of that, and like I said, for me personally, not seeing my child all the time, it's a stress that only some people can hold. You can only be so strong for so long. And I don't have all the answers. And I feel like nobody really has all the answers. But what you can do is you can have somebody on here who knows how to talk through stuff, who knows how, professionally knows how to keep you under control, who can teach you different techniques, who could teach you different aspects to life and show you a different way and show you a different way to look at things that will bring us all together, as a fatherhood, basically. To know that there's somebody here that you sit here and somebody might be watching a video one day and they see and they're going through it. They might have just lost, all rights to their kids, or didn't get the visitation time that they wanted to, and they don't know how to handle it mentally. Because when I first found out the visitation time that I could have, I blew up. I was running. I ran into the bathroom. I was screaming. I was crying. I was hyperventilating, because basically you just took my child away from me, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was sitting here in this courtroom, and watching somebody in front of me that I don't even know, basically tell me that I can't have my child when I want to have my child, and then look at me crazy for being upset about it. And I saw that when I was going through all the court cases that I've been through and all of that. I saw so many different dads running out of the courtroom, angry, upset, running up to the box office, seeing how they can change things on their phone, screaming and crying, and not understanding why things went down a certain path or why things went down a certain way. And that's not something that, as a human, you need to endure. That's a lot of stress and pain. So I feel like me trying to bring on a therapist on here will help as well, and will help bring you down and really, see the shining light of things. Um, Everything that we will do on here will, like I said, bring the shining light to fatherhood. I want to bring different fathers on here. I have different friends that are big time musicians that have kids. I want to bring them on here, and so that you could really understand and see the different aspects and the different ways of life that people go through. I have professional athletes that are professional athletes now, and that used to be professional athletes, or just in an athletic figure role, who have kids. And I want to see how it is to go through that, to be away from your kids as long as you need to, that's your providing sport for them, or just new fathers. That's a main aspect, and that's a main goal when it comes on here. I want to honestly bring on as many new fathers, fathers to be, on here, just to kind of give them, a first start, a first guide, like, fatherhood 101. Because being a new father, especially a young father, you don't really know what to expect. And we want to make sure on Locos Radio St. Louis that we are given a space where we could talk about the ups and downs of being a dad. We want to make sure that you guys understand that you are going to have your really, really, really high highs. When you see your child laughing and saying "dada" and screaming and running to you and holding their arms up to you, and you picking them up and everything like that, that is going to be the highest of all highs. You're going to, that game-winning shot that you had back in high school, or that game-winning touchdown, or that big-time debate team that won the state, or the big-time band, you were a big-time, whatever, all of that, your biggest accomplishments, however, whatever feeling you had, will not compare to when you have a child sitting there in your arms calling you dad. And everybody needs to experience that, and everybody needs to know that being a dad is something that's cool. Being a dad is the new fad. Like back in the day, dads were the provider, for sure. Dads went to work all day. They came home, they ate their food, and then, they did the same thing over and over. You didn't mess with dad. But now we're here. Now I've seen so many different dads, and it's so cool because I've seen so many different young fathers that are out here just fighting for their kid, that are out here just taking care of their kid, doing everything that they can for their kid, changing their entire life when they find out that they're having a kid. And that needs to be a shining light. That needs to be broadcasted around the world. That needs to be one of the main focuses is dads matter too. Dads are people too. Dads need to say so. Dads need to be heard. And this show on LOCO Radio St. Louis will be the start, and hopefully that big shining light to introducing dads in this world, to helping dads out in this world, to even changing an experience of I want this show to be so out there that somebody who is not a part of their kid's life looks at this and sees all the different dads out here that are taking care of their kids, or all these different dads that are actually fighting to be a part of their kid's life, and think, what am I doing? Why am I not a part of my kid's life? Why am I just throwing my child support there and not doing anything else? Why am I not doing anything at all? Why am I denying my kid? And really feel like, they're doing something wrong, because you are doing something wrong. There's somebody out there that needs you, and you honestly need them. So, with all that being said, this is the first episode of Dad's Talk podcast. And shout out to LOCO Radio St. Louis for giving me the stage and this platform to, be that shining light and to show that dads matter too.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich.